coming at you. Good Monday, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, a chilly weekend across the nation, man.
Frozen, solid. I had to start my truck twice to get it thawed out with the little remote, and then I actually had to go out and start it to get the ice off of it before I left this morning to come to beautiful Moore, Oklahoma in 13-degree weather.
Wow, the weather across the country, snow up north, snow in the northeast, and then, man, just a bad situation down in Alabama.
Yeah, some tornadoes came through there. I guess there was some loss of life. Not a good situation at all.
And March, I cannot remember it being this cold with this much snow and just an epic weather event taking place here in Oklahoma because the entire weekend was shut down.
Al Gore warned us about it a decade ago, Mark.
I don't know about that. Jeez, but our thoughts are with the people down in Alabama. And, dude, we are building up to the Classic. A great set of guests this week. Kind of our Classic kind of preview week. Today we're going to have Justin Lucas on. Tomorrow, we're going to have one of the favorites, if not the favorite, Defo. And then on Wednesday, we're going to have Mike Iaconelli on. So a jam-packed week for us.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. It's definitely probably the most anticipated Classic in the 48 years that it has existed. This being the 49th Classic, and then the 50th Classic will look a little bit different.
Yeah, it will. I still say, man, it would be cool if they could have the 50th Classic on Lake Mead. Go back to where the whole thing got started, the very first one. That will never happen because Vegas or whatever that town, Henderson or whatever, a nearby Boulder City, will never pay the money to bring the Classic there. They don't need to. They just won't. So in my eyes, it wouldn't happen, but it would be cool if it did happen. And speaking of Lake Mead, we have to mention HFA, my friend.
Mr. Klinger.
Where does he live?
Does he live in Nevada? In
Yes.
Vegas?
Yeah.
Oh. I saw Roy Hawk had a fourth place finish.
Yeah.
Brutally tough for the Costa event there on Lake Mead. Did not take much weight to cash a check. But, hey, it's Lake Mead in springtime. That's what you expect. And they just had a bunch of snow there, too.
Yeah.
It's currently snowing in Tennessee also. And the water continues to rise. They just canceled the Big Bass Bash. The Wade Middleton's deal on Kentucky Lake had to reschedule that for October because Paris Landing is closed, and all of the lakes on that river chain are historic highs. I mean, it's going to be very interesting. Classic practice, Mark. Friday. Yeah. Today is Monday. It's not that far away. It is just days away.
Next week, man. Next week. They're going to get after it on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I don't know that stretch of river, though. Maybe Justin will know. Is it something that where it's an issue? Or is it, I mean, can they handle that high water? It just makes things, kind of throws a curveball into it. Do they have to think about contingency plans, or is it a stretch to where it's just high, be careful, and everything's okay?
We'll ask Ott that tomorrow. Obviously, he's familiar with the body of water. All right, we also have a derby taking place this week on Lake Seminole.
Yeah, the third FLW Tour stop of the season. And, you know, there's some shakeup in FLW, some anglers who left, a lot of new rookies coming in. But I was taking a look the other day at the Angler of the Year standings after the first two events. And obviously those will change as you get more tournaments to kind of decipher an average. But I would say the four guys that you expected to be there after two events are still there. You know, you got Terry Bolton leading the way. He won the first one on Sam Rayburn. But, you know, you've got Brian Thrift in third, Scott Martin in fourth, John Cox in seventh, David Dudley in eighth. I mean, those are four of the biggest names that are on the tour this year. And then also a Probably the surprise of the season, I would say, is Chad Warren in 5th, Sand Springs, Oklahoma pro. He finished 2nd in the FLW Tour 2 years ago on the Potomac River. Remember, he got on a topwater bite there, did not fish the tour last year, and he goes into the 3rd stop in 5th place. If he has a good one here, I'm going to be a little worried. Why am I going to be worried, Mark?
I have no idea.
Because he is also on the Oklahoma Bass Nation State team, and I have to fish against him on Gunnersville in less than a month.
Dude, you should have no worries.
The guy's on a serious roll. It
is you against the fish on Lake Gunnersville. Don't worry about anybody else. How many times have we talked about that?
I know, but dude, that guy's on a serious roll.
You're being intimidated, and you haven't even made a cast.
30,000 this year at earnings. He had like 30 in the last one. He's made like 65 in his last 3 tournaments.
You're done.
I'm just saying, he's going to be hard. He's going to be hard to get off that roll when he goes back and fishes against the commoners, Mark.
You're done. You're done, man. You're mentally done already. Wow. I saw, and I don't know if you saw this clip, and as we open the show, we talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. But, dude, this is one of the coolest things I've seen in probably 20 years. Did you hear about the story about Casey Price? Do you know who Casey Price is?
No.
He is the goaltender for the Montreal Canadiens.
Also known as Carey Price?
Carey Price. God. I'm an idiot. Yes. Jeez. Casey Price.
He plays
I wrote down Casey.
He plays for the Washington Senators, doesn't he?
No. I know for a fact he plays.
That's another joke because you called the Nationals the
Senators.
I
get you. No, I wrote down anyway. I wrote it down wrong and I just read it. I'm sorry. But there was a video clip that was posted about the pre-morning skate or the morning skate, and there was a kid that showed up with his, I believe it was his grandma, and his mom passed away from cancer, and he wanted to meet his lifelong dream of meeting
Carey Price.
Yeah. And during the skate, or once there was a break kind of in the morning skate, Price came over and talked to him, gave him a hug, talked to him for like 20 minutes, and this was all filmed, and it was just very, very, very emotional. Had a broken stick that somehow, some way, the kid got it, and he took the broken stick away from him, gave him a brand new not brand new, but an unbroken stick, signed it, and it was just a touching moment. You know what it reminded me of? And I know the whole thing was staged back in the 70s. It was either the 70s or the 80s. The whole Mean Joe Green thing where he gave the kid a jersey. Did you ever see that commercial?
Was it a Super Bowl commercial?
Yeah, it was a Coke commercial.
I've seen the past. I mean, I wasn't alive, I think.
But, in this day and age, these guys are making millions and millions of dollars to go out of his way because it said in the story that one of the things that his mom was trying to do was to get things set up to where he can meet Mr. Price.
Cool.
And it happened, and his aunt captured this whole thing on video, and very, 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 very touching.
I'll have to go check it out. The guys in fishing do that so many times that you don't see because they're so accessible. You've got a Justin Lucas or a Mike Iaconelli or any of these guys at the boat ramp. Now, I'm not going to say all the time. I mean, I've seen guys duck out behind stage and get the hell out of Dodge after they've had a bad derby and they got one the next week. But as a general rule, I mean, I've seen numerous guys. One that comes to mind is Todd Faircloth at Cayuga a couple years ago. You know, he just finished a tournament. He's good. This kid came down. He was probably 6 years old.
Yeah.
And Todd took a rod off of, or a reel off of his rod. His dad was there, and he gave this kid who didn't ask, he just wanted to meet Todd Faircloth, gave this kid the rod, one of his signature rods, and said, hey, when you get old enough to throw a bait caster, your dad will put a reel on it and he'll teach you how to use it. And it was one of the coolest things that I'd ever seen. That stuff goes on a lot of the time. I remember Mike Iaconelli, back when I did stuff with Pure Fishing, when I ran their pro staff. For some reason, he ends up in situations with a lot of broken rods in the boat at the end of the day. He had this kid who had a sign. He asked me, he's like, hey man, can you run down there and get one of those broken rods out of my boat and make sure this kid gets it?
Yeah.
So he got it. It happens a lot in the fishing, whether it be baits, rods, stuff like that.
Yeah. It's very, very, very cool. And then the other thing is, did you see anything about Justin Thomas, the golfer?
No.
He went on a Twitter rant, which was really interesting, and I want to read something to you. You know, he got a 2-stroke penalty, and I'm going to tie this back to fishing here real quick. He got a 2-stroke penalty because they have this new rule that your caddy cannot be in the line of where you're putting on the green.
Okay.
Brand new rule. Well, his caddy was standing there, but he was just standing there. Anyway, they reviewed it. They gave him a 2-stroke penalty, and it cost him a ton of money. So then people were ripping him because he was pretty vocal about the rule and, you know, tired of all these rules that are being thrown out, blah, 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 blah. But then he made a statement after a fan threw back at him on Twitter, and I just want to read this real quick. It says, Thomas fired back, making a reference to the 2-stroke penalty assessed to Denny McCarthy during round two of the Phoenix Open. And this is him talking. Really? Because the last time I checked in Phoenix, my pointing out what happened to Denny went viral, and the rules were changed. Pretty sad when the world we live in nowadays is all based upon social media. What are your thoughts on that?
I would have to go back and read it in a lot more context, but...
All right, he also adds, but that's how a lot of things get done today. It says, the things that I and others are doing are trying to help the sport as best as we can. Mm-hmm. So basically what he's saying is a lot of stuff that he's throwing out on Twitter and other people are throwing out on Twitter or whatever social media people are looking at. And then I guess things are changing as a result of some of the stuff that's being said on social media. Is this something that you've known of? You're the social media guy. I don't mess with it. I don't get out. Can you remember anything that has taken place in the bass fishing world where there was something that went viral, be it on Instagram, on Twitter, on anything out there from a social media perspective, that any organization, including, I'm talking about even maybe a little regional thing, where adjustments were made as a result of a Twitter rant?
As far as rules, not that comes to mind, but the first thing immediately that I noticed was the difference between day 1 and day 2 of the Bass Pro Tour on Kissimmee.
Yeah.
And it seemed, and I don't know if this is true behind the scenes or not, that there were MLF officials that went through every single social media post about what they did and did not like about that first day of broadcasting, aside from the technical issues. Yeah. But they made those changes for the second day, as far as where the host did, what they read the commercials, how much fishing they showed, who was talking, when they were talking, what they explained. And it seemed like social media played an important role in kind of molding how the rest of that tournament was shown.
All right. The point I'm trying to make with this is you have more exposure. Mm-hmm. You have the exposure that has never taken place before in this game, especially with everything that Major League Fishing is doing. Are we going to get to the point where situations occur that fans see, that everybody sees, where the fan influence may actually impact a decision? Because that's kind of what happened with the PGA.
Mm-hmm. Didn't they have a rule, though, where now you can't call in retroactively if you saw something?
Yeah, but this was more the PGA recognized
that people were freaking out over this stupid rule and they changed it. Yeah, no, that's a fair point.
So because of the exposure and because of the amount of information that's out there, from a live standpoint, you could have this situation in fishing.
I mean, to some extent, it's been going on for years and years. It's just been in the form of letters, in the form of phone calls, in the form of talk radio shows. It's just more immediate and more available with social media through Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, those social media platforms. But I mean, it existed in the past. It just wasn't as public because all of the quote-unquote social media stuff that now everybody can see were directed towards, you'd have people that would write a letter to the PGA that say, this is preposterous. Well, the only people that would see it was the PGA. Now it's on a message board on an Instagram post to where everyone can see it.
I haven't asked any of the guys on tour this, but the ones that are active in social media, do they get into it with fans? Do they fire back?
Some of them do. I know there's guys that are very good at answering. Brandon Polinick is one that's very good at answering. Justin Lucas, who we're going to have on in a few seconds, he's good at answering some of his fans. I mean, at some point it becomes too hard with the mass number of them. Some of them have their wives do it or their people, but I know, a lot of the guys will personally answer the fans. Now, let's be honest. When it comes to it, there's not a whole heck of a lot of controversial stuff that gets said in bass fishing as opposed to others. So most of it's, questions about tackle, about gear, about stuff like that. But yeah, these guys will fire back answers.
Can you recall, and let's just say a Twitter spat?
I don't know a ton of guys who use Twitter. It's mostly
Really?
Instagram now.
And once again, I don't know that.
Yeah.
But can you directly respond to an Instagram post?
Yeah, 100%. We'll ask Justin that.
Okay. Because he's pretty active, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's got a younger fan base that asks him a lot of questions and stuff.
All right, what about Norm Duke? Did you see what happened? Dude, he won back-to-back.
Won again.
Yeah, in Arkansas. In Arkansas. The professional bull riding and PBA was in the same general vicinity this past week.
Just needed a cornhole tournament and a bass fishing tournament.
And it was 20-something degrees outside, though.
The whole Obscure Sports Quarterly staff would have been there.
Yeah, Duke getting it done. Number 40. He only has two people in front of him.
Cool.
Walter Ray and the greatest, Earl Anthony, back from the 70s and 80s. So I think that's it, man. I got nothing else on my list. Interesting. Did you know that Lucas has over $850,000 in earnings on the bass side?
Mm-hmm. Now, on the bass side?
Yeah.
On the bass side?
Yeah.
He's won 2.
Yeah.
There's 2-6. He hasn't been over on the bass side for that long.
Are you
sure that's right?
3 classics. Yeah. 3 classics.
Yeah, but he only has one top 10. He finished 9th on Hartwell in his first classic, and the others he didn't. He just got a $10,000 check or $13,000.
Yeah, that's what it said.
Well, I guess this past year, yeah. I mean, you rack out all those top 10s, and then you throw the 200 what is it?
The bonus money.
The bonus for the Angler of the Year standings, and I guess, yeah, that makes sense then.
Yeah, so he was kind of pushing $1 million. Obviously, if he wins the Classic,
zero earnings on MLF.
And we're going to get into it, and see what the difference is. He barely missed the cut. He finished 21st at Conroe.
Had a good attitude about it. It seemed to fire him up. Actually, I have a very interesting interview with him that we'll run probably before the next MLF, where he kind of dives into comprehending the strategy that is now involved with these MLF, and he believes that there is a formula, there is a strategy, the best way to approach practice and to fish these things with a day and a half of practice and the zeros and how to finish in that top 20. So once he figures it out, he's got to be a scary guy.
All right, man, we're going to take a break. Hopefully come back with Justin Lucas here on a Monday, 1 week before the festivities get going in Knoxville, Tennessee. So we'll be right back. Everybody stay tuned.
Sleek new design with easy control file. The clearest images underwater with uncompromising range. Live mapping from the touchscreen. View notifications, video, even Google Maps on screen. And for the first time ever, real-time view of fish movements with live sight sonar. HDS Live. New from Lowrance.
It's about the hours spent getting everything just right. It's the attention to detail. Good just isn't good enough. It's the years spent on the water day after day. When you tie on a bait by Strike King, you're standing on the shoulders of legends.
Pros depend on hydraulic jack plates to get the best out of their boats. Do what they do. Demand Atlas performance. Atlas gets you from the bottom to the top in less than 8 seconds, even with the big 4 strokes. And when you gotta turn right around and get that heavy load back up in rough water, Atlas's innovative design and American-made components will get you there with confidence.
I'm at Depot. Just look for yourself. There's an Atlas jack plate on just about every professional's boat.
The Atlas hydraulic jack plate. You can depend on it.
Hey guys, Aaron Martins here. I'm going to be telling you about a new product by Sunline. It's Siglon PE x8. I've been using it almost extensively all year for my frogging, flipping, drop shotting, shaky heading, worming, jerk baiting. It's by far my favorite Sunline braid. And I honestly, I don't say this unless I think it's true, but honestly it's the best braid in the market of any of the braids. Definitely check it out. It's a price point line, $14.95 for 165 yards, and that could last you a whole year, just one spool with using leader material. Again, it's Siglon PE x8. It's my favorite braid, and I think if you use it, it'll be your favorite braid too. AFCO has a new foul weather rain suit called the Hydronaut. A lot of the features that I really like about it first is the speed vent hood. If it's raining out, you know, how a person gets wet is when you run down the lake and the hood comes down. With the speed vent hood, it's going to stay up. It has a camera mount in the pocket on the chest. The Hydronaut has a 2-layer, 100% waterproof nylon shell. If you're interested in a rain suit that has a lot of cool features that's going to keep you dry, you need to check out the Hydronaut from AFCO.
I feel like that.
All right, we are back, kicking off the week, getting ready for the Bassmaster Classic, Knoxville, Tennessee. You ever been to Knoxville, Matthew?
Yeah. I've covered a derby on Loudon Telco, the FLW Tour. Remember the year you sent me to cover the tour? I believe it would have been 2008.
Okay.
We would do the daily recaps and everything.
Yeah.
I had just started working for you, and you got me a hotel room and a plane ticket and said, go have fun.
I thought that was Detroit.
No, that was Detroit too, but that whole year I went to every single, that was kind of like my make or break deal where I had no idea what was going on, and I just went out and covered the entire
Did you stay in
2008
Knoxville?
season. Yeah.
Really?
And then weren't we also in Knoxville for some other stuff? Where were we when Kevin Worth won? Was that not Knoxville?
No, that was
Nashville?
that was Nashville. That was Old
okay.
Hickory.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Where he ate the crab and had to eat crab every single night.
From Hooters.
Yeah.
Hooters crab.
I don't know, man. Superstitions.
Oh, we're about to have our first guest with a backwards hat on in 9 years.
It's all good. I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Justin, you there, man?
Oh, no, you can't switch it now.
You there, man?
Yeah, I'm chilling at home, dude. I can put on the backwards hat at home. I'm getting stuff done.
Exactly. He's working, man. Getting ready. All right, Justin, man, thanks for taking time out. I know it is a very, very busy time for you. And we're kind of focusing this week's shows on the Classic in Knoxville. But at the same time, since we have you on, we want to talk to you a little bit about the first two MLF events, and then we're going to kind of slide into the Bassmaster Classic and what your thoughts are on that. But your first two events, kind of struggled a little bit in the first one, and then at Conroe, you almost made the cut, finished in 21st. What are kind of your thoughts after two events, man?
Loving it, dude. Although, the first event, I mean, man, it's Florida. If you want to talk about people that didn't catch them, you can have Kevin Van Dam, Andy Morgan. You can have some real studs on, guys that are way better than me. So, and not to mention our group of guys that we have, there's going to be big names at the bottom every single time. That's just how it is. Look at Brandon Polinick at Conroe. Who would have saw that coming, So I love it, man. The format is insanely intense, and everybody knows that. But for me, I really just feel like for the first time, hopefully this isn't, a bad thing to say, but I love watching bass fishing, and I feel like for the first time, I feel like people are watching a real sport go down. Like the intensity level of it, and then the production of it is just, it gives it that real sport feel. And if we're gonna bring new people into the sport, I think we've got to have that instead of it feeling like a hobby or just fishing. And I think they're doing a great job. It's exciting, man. It's fun. I can't put it down when I get cut. I'm watching it the whole way home.
That's interesting. Oh, what about from a performance standpoint? I mean, have you always struggled in Florida?
Florida's just off or on. Yeah, it's, I've had good tournaments and I've had bad tournaments down there. Not great tournaments, but I finished in the 12 to 25th spot down and around Okeechobee and Toho. St. John's River I've done well at, top 10s there. But Toho and Kissimmee and Okeechobee, it's just one of those things, man. Anybody can have a bad tournament on any of those lakes, and it doesn't bother me at all. And then missing the check at Conroe, it didn't bother me as much. It just got me even that more fired up about it. And I missed a couple fish the first day, lost them at the boat. Any fish, that I had lost or missed would have got me in the cut. Brett Heights just had a horseshoe riding around with him that week, I guess. The last 30 seconds is ridiculous, and it weighed enough to get in. I mean, that is what it is, though, and that's what makes that format so special. So what do you think about it, Mark?
It is entertaining. And, I've said it on this show numerous times. The drama that is created during the elimination round and really during every round is really between 15th and 25th place. I think it's somewhat – I think you guys should get some kind of bonus if you win a round, because what I'm seeing so far is I think it gets lost how well the guy that wins the round has fished.
Yeah.
But I think the drama that is created on who's going to make the cut, it really, really kind of emphasizes what this thing's all about.
I hear you, man. I wouldn't disagree with that. I think a guy should be rewarded for the first, 2 days of competition if he's leading his group. I definitely think that should be. I think maybe even the top 5 should be rewarded.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've said this on the show, but I'll break it down as to why it is so compelling. So you have 6 days in this MLF format. There are 4 competition days where the field is cut, either from 40 to 20 or 20 to 10, and then 10 for the win. So with the 10 camera boats, that gives you 12 opportunities with 3 opportunities each day, the end of the first, the end of the second, and the end of the third, to have one of these wow moments, an Andy Montgomery 9-pound moment. So you extrapolate that a dozen times 8 regular season tournaments, that gives you, well, I'm not a mathematician here, 12 times 8 is over 90 opportunities to have a last-second fish catch, something that makes someone money, something that knocks Justin Lucas out of a round and someone else into a round, whereas in a regular tournament, you're not going to have the cameras on the guy who's trying to finish in 35th, the guy who's trying to make the cut. The guys don't know where they are, so in 8 or 9 of those tournaments, you have maybe 2 or 3 of those moments where you don't exactly know what's happening, but a guy will catch one to be like, I think that did it for me, or a guy will lose one that says, I think that lost it. Well, in MLF, they've manufactured these opportunities to where you're going to have 2 or 3 of those a tournament as opposed to 2 or 3 a season for the FLW and Bass, and I think that is part of the draw.
And I'll tell you this, too, just as an angler, just as a guy that was inside the cut and got bumped out at one event, is that the way I felt during that period, knowing where I was at the whole time, that's how I used to feel in the parking lot before I was getting ready to weigh in. And now it's captured on the water while it's happening. And that, to me, is what we need. Once you're on the boats on the trailer and you're in the parking lot, I felt, sick and want to throw up before the Delta, Potomac, I knew I had it. Angler of the year, just after the first day, when I put the boat on the trailer, that's when I really start feeling nervous and just that gut-wrenching feeling. And now you're getting that on the water, and it's changing guys and the way that they fish a little bit. Not a little bit, quite a bit. And, dude, it's just fun to watch. And here's my hope, right? Like, I know guys love 5 fish limits still. There is nothing wrong. I still watch Bass Live. But guys that I think Bass Live is an amazing place it's still going to be an amazing place to learn. It's still a great show. But I think that to bring new eyes into it, I think that the way that MLF is doing it is going to bring new blood into the sport big time. Because people that, I have adult friends that are watching it going, dude, this is fun. This is exciting. Like, I can see people getting together, having wings and chips and dip on Sunday afternoon, rooting for their favorite guy, man.
All right, I want to move on to the Classic unless Matt has anything else from an MLF perspective. Do you have anything else, Matt?
No, I mean, my only question on that is, ideally, you've got shirt on, hat on, jerseys on, you're using stuff, and the goal is for people to see that and see that you're using it and buying it. Do you think that the new eyes of the people that come in are likely to say, I watched Justin Lucas during our wing party, catch him on that Berkeley General, because that's been the hot topic bait the last 2 tournaments? Or do you think it's more likely the guys who already fish, who have already purchased that, are more likely to say that? Like, do you think that the new eyes are influencing purchasing habits? Because ultimately, isn't that the goal of why there's stuff on your clown suit?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, but dude, in my mind, and I don't know the stats, but if somebody watches that and they go, man, that's pretty cool. That's exciting. I want to go out there and catch a fish like these guys are doing. And they can relate, right? Like 27 fish for 57 pounds. That's that's a number that somebody that doesn't know much about fishing is like, wow, that's cool, compared to 5 fish for 17 pounds, and trying to explain coaling to a new person and all that, you start to lose them. But if that person is going to go fishing, they're going to go to Walmart or Bass Pro Shops, and they're going to I would think they're going to buy what they see the guy using on the show and give it a shot. And then, to me, I don't know what the number is, but if somebody goes out there and catches a fish, even if it's in a pond, if they go out there and catch a fish, I feel like their chances of going again are really high. And so, look what the high school and college thing is. Look how much that's blown up in the last few years. And those are just new programs that have been, put out there and reaching these kids. And surely it can be the same for adults that, go out there and they go, I'm going to get fish in a shot. They catch a fish, love it. And we all have friends that get hooked on fishing. And all it takes is one fish or one competition day, and they love it.
All right. I want to ask this from the instant feedback first. Mike in New York wants to know, do you understand how the points are calculated? And
yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Can you explain it?
Yep. So there's 80 guys in the field. 40 compete the first 2 days. Another group of 40 the next 2 days. For instance, I finished 21st. Mike Iaconelli finished 21st at Conroe as well. And I haven't looked yet, but one of us, 21st, would be equivalent to 41st and 42nd. So it's whoever actually competed the best or the closest to the leading weight for their group. So if I was closer average-wise than Mike was, I finished 41st and he finishes 42nd. So every spot is decided by, the two guys that finish there, who's one or two. And then it just goes all the way down. So it's really the same. It's 80 points through 1 point.
Right.
And it'll be that way for the whole season.
All right, so it would be weight differential.
Basically what I'm saying is if you finished 21st and the leader had 50 pounds and you had 30 pounds, that's 20 pounds from the leader. If Ike finishes 21st and he had 10 pounds and the leader had 50 pounds, he finished 40 pounds back, so you would finish 41st, he would finish 42nd.
You got it.
I get it. That's pretty simple now.
We can debate that later.
All right.
It's I don't think anybody has a problem with it. If you fish better to the leader in your group, then you get that point. You get that difference. But
no, I hear you.
It's got to be done.
I just have a not a macro problem. I have a micro problem with it because you're depending on how efficient your leader is. Whether you're shaking, you got one leader who's maybe not the brightest guy and just decides to crack him all day, and then the next leader decides, hell, I'm in the top 20, I'm going to lay off. Well, that could cause someone who's 21st or down a point differential, which could mean the difference between a red crest, which could mean the difference between an MLF championship. But hey, it is what it is. I understand why they do it. They have to do it that way. There is no perfect system when you're competing on different days.
I got you. All right. Moving on to the Classic. I was thinking about this last night. Do you have a Rubbermaid container or some kind of container that has like your culling system in it and maybe
I actually sold it to a buddy. Not sold it. I sell this guy a lot of stuff, but I gave it to him because it was used, and he bought my old boat and it was in the boat. But I got to get it back. It's actually on my to-do list on my phone is get my culling.
What else is on your to-do list? Do you seriously have your phone there? Go through it. I want to see what's on your to-do list to get ready for the Classic.
All right.
Is that like the notes feature on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I use the heck out of that thing.
So we've got, I got to tint my sister's windows out in California for her graduation present. I've got to make sure that the hitch on the new fifth wheel we're picking up this week is going to fit, or the kingpin's going to fit the hitch on the truck. I got to get my dinner table figured out for the AOY tournament. I got to change my motor oil. I got to get my cold clips from Collins, and I got to pick up jerseys with the Bass Patch logo on them.
There you have it.
Told you I was working today, Matt.
That's not bad. You gonna auction those jerseys off then after the Classic, or give them away, or what are you gonna do with those? Because that's a one-time use deal.
I give a bunch of jerseys away, so yeah.
All right.
Hey, from a business perspective, Justin, and you're pretty savvy. You're kind of one of the leading guys out there from a sponsorship standpoint. Did you ever think about, or did you do a deal just for the Classic?
I didn't. Dude, I don't want to say it like in a bad way, but I'm maxed out. Like, I'm not trying to be, I love Ike, but I'm not trying to be Ike, man. Like, if anything, I am totally comfortable where I'm at. I'm not trying to add extra work. I really want to focus on fishing. There's a good balance there of, for me anyway, different people. I can handle that stuff. I can handle it. Or Brandon Polinick can handle that type of stuff. Me, I like to keep everything a little more simple and really focus on fishing. I'm not trying to make millions of dollars. Like, if I can make enough to get by, have a retirement down the road, that's good enough for me. Like, we live in the same house we built, 7 years ago. Nothing's nothing's changing here. So I just, and especially now that I've got a little guy and my wife's not working, like if I start trying to make more money just to, upgrade the house and have a few maybe nicer things, like then the stress level starts to go up, and then I'm not going to fish as well. So keeping that balance, man.
That's interesting. Very interesting.
It's been a weird year. A lot of focus has been on the first two stages of the MLF Bass Pro Tour, getting involved in that, talking a lot about that. In past years, you hear and do interviews we have with a lot of guys who say, man, I get through the first two Elite Series stops, but the focus really is on that Classic. We do guys who have been preparing for months for it. You fish 3 of these Classics. This is going to be your 4th Classic. I would have to imagine preparation has probably been a little bit different for this one as far as the level of focus and time you've put in, or are you treating it just as business as usual and prepared the exact same way that you have for your past Classics?
So I fished these lakes a couple of times. I fished a PAA and FLW out there. So I have a little bit of experience, but there's just not a lot of information on the lakes. Like if you start to Google them or anything, there's just not that much out there. And so I've sat at the computer and tried to Google different ways to find information about them. But there's not that much, which kind of makes it interesting and nice. There's a lot of people that haven't fished these lakes before that are going to be in this tournament. And, I kind of compare it to like Lake Martin last year, or not Lake Hawaii because everybody had been there. But Lake Martin, it's this lake that's been around the South forever, obviously. And it seemed like only half the field had ever fished it. And I feel like that's how this Classic's going to be. So as far as preparation goes, there's not much you can do. I went out there in December for one day, but look what the conditions are dealing us now, with all the rain and everything. So, and I don't really know what I'm looking for in December. So I only spent one day. I was going to spend 2, and I'm just like, you know what? I need to just come and fish this place the week of and figure it out that week. So, it's the preparation's not much different. I think that just the venue and the body of water kind of decided how the preparation was going to be for this one.
I'm curious, Justin, how much stuff in your boat from a tackle perspective are you going to take out and replace, or how much are you going to leave in there? Are you just going to leave pretty much the same stuff in there, or what are you going to do?
No, it's I think I'm going to, I always am moving stuff in and out constantly. So, I'm going to have a lot of the same stuff everybody else is going to have. I mean, this tournament, I don't think it can be won without somebody throwing a crankbait at some point, So I've been trying to do that some here on Gunnersville, just to get more comfortable cranking. I am not a great crankbait fisherman by any means. It's probably my biggest struggle. So I've been trying to focus on some crankbait stuff, trying to get the crankbait box built up, and then it's going to be maybe a jerkbait, crankbait, spinnerbait, jig for sure. Just really simple fishing. It's going to be tough. You're going to have to figure out 7 to 10 bites a day, probably. Maybe some guys can get more, but especially if you're going for smallies, 18-inch requirement, that might be hard to get 5 of those a day.
You are the reigning angler of the year on the Bassmaster Elite Series, and practice starts on Friday for the Bassmaster Classic. I'm just curious, what is the coordination or the kind of contact been like with Bass and the media on their side leading into this? Have you done a lot of stuff with them? Have they not called you? Have you worked a bunch together? How has that relationship kind of been going into now that it's Classic practice week is here?
I did one interview, but that's all I've done so far. And then I was told that I had a AOY dinner table or something. So I got to have some guests that I got to send in a list or whatever to get that nailed down. So
is that?
Yeah, that's
got to be kind of weird, doesn't it? Going to do the AOY stuff there. I mean, be honest here. This is a question that I want to know, Justin. Yeah. And I mean, you could say you don't want to answer it, but you're in a weird position there, dude.
I would have thought I probably would have been maybe contacted a little bit more, but it's okay. I understand what they're doing, and there is a couple people there that I have talked to, that they're really just, want that equality for this tournament. So I don't have any hard feelings, and I haven't. It just, they got to do business. I got to do business. I'm worried about fishing, honestly. Articles and media stuff, whatever. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I just have one job.
You know what you're gonna say? Like, have you already thought about that speech? I mean, you're going to be up there in front of everyone. You go back to some of the great speeches like that Polinick's had and that Swindle have done. I mean,
I don't know, man. Maybe you can give me a couple tips because I haven't started on it.
I charge.
Dude, come on, Matthew. Jeez. Hey, I
honestly don't know what to talk about, other than I think just probably talking about how I got started in fishing. And I mean, dude, I remember being 12 years old, catching a 4.5 pounder off my dad's barge, or the tugboat tire that was next to the barge. And I put a 4.5 pounder in a garbage can lid that was on top of the barge that had enough rainwater in it to walk a quarter of a mile, half a mile to show my dad this 4.5 pounder in a plastic garbage can lid with rainwater, and then throwing it back in the port of Sacramento. So, I remember that being my first big bass, and I think telling some stories like that. Dude, I worked at a pumpkin patch when I was 13 so I could buy fishing lures. Like,
wow.
The whole goal from the very beginning, 14 years old, I quit playing basketball, quit playing baseball to focus on becoming a professional fisherman at 14. So
does a good job of deflecting questions.
No, it was good.
Goes back to the childhood stories. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I'm not deflecting. That's
no,
not. I'm going to talk about it.
I know.
Hey, what is that? Thomas, a tank engine behind you?
Yeah, and what's in the box, too?
That's a Tackle Warehouse box. And I haven't opened it yet. And that is a little Thomas the Tank Engine. Okay. Good call.
Are those classic baits in there?
Top secret stuff, dude.
Is it really? I want to know what's in it.
Well, I'm not going to show you.
You're not going to show us?
No, he doesn't have to, Matt.
Is it stuff for is it like your super secret classic box, or?
Yeah.
I mean, is there like cool stuff in there, or is it just like non-cool stuff?
No, there's cool stuff in there, dude.
Dang it.
That's tools of the trade.
Can you show us one thing?
No, stop pressuring him.
I just want to see what's in the Tackle Warehouse box. There's people who have made a living out of opening Tackle Warehouse boxes on YouTube. They're getting paid more than me and you combined just to open it up and show it to the camera.
Matt, they're not opening them up for the Classic. They're just opening them up for their pond in the backyard. So,
good point.
I'm opening them up for the biggest tournament in bass fishing right now.
We might be able to see it. It'll just be on Sunday.
Yeah. Hey, Justin, there's a number of people on the instant feedback that want to know, is there any discussion or has there been any notice or anything sent out that there might be a possibility that there might be an adjustment to the venue because of the water levels?
I haven't heard anything. I think the water levels are fine, honestly. Fort Loudon is a narrow lake, but they can run water through that thing like crazy. And I looked the other day, and it was normal pool. So at least at the dam it was, but it's narrow from Knoxville to the dam. It's a narrow body of water. So I think it's fine, man. They've been running 220,000 here at Guntersville. The whole Tennessee River, it might flood up by the dams a little bit just because of how narrow it is on each lake and all of that, how much water is coming out. But they can run water through the Tennessee River really well. I mean, Guntersville only ever fluctuates like 3 feet, period. Maybe less than that.
You mentioned Guntersville. I think I saw a social media post the other day where it was just you and Jordan Lee out having a good time. I don't think there were any other cameras involved or anything. How often do you get out and just get to go fun fishing like that? When I talked to you the other day, you were out on Guntersville just fishing. That's kind of one of the reasons why you moved to that part of the country, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to do it more, man, honestly, because the lake's fishing well again. There for a couple of years, it was really tough. But the lake's fishing well. I live close enough. Little guy is old enough, it's mom has, doesn't need as much help watching him or anything. And I just need to do it more, honestly. Like that, I had a really good time with Jordan. We didn't take a picture until the end of the day. We finally caught a couple of good ones, and we're like, all right, maybe we'll take a picture now, but we're out there fishing, and I just thought, man, this is cool. We're not trying to not trying to make a social media post, not trying to do something for anybody. We're just out here catching fish. And not to mention, we're the AOY and Classic champ. And I was thinking, I wonder how many other AOY and Classic current champs have gotten a boat like this together and just blasted them, because we caught like 35 fish that day. We wrecked them.
That's pretty cool.
Really cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Really is. Mike in New York wants to know, any discussion on the MLF side of not splitting up the groups and actually having an event where all 80 guys are on the water at the same time?
I would think, I can't speak for MLF, I would think that has to be the goal eventually. The problem with that is they're going to have to double cameras to do that, and that's a huge investment, Mark, as you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much that would cost. They have 13 cameras out there, 3 floating cameras, and 10 in boats. So to double that is no idea. Do you have a ballpark number, Mark?
Each unit probably maybe close to 10 grand. You know, 8 to 10 grand.
And camera guys and everything else.
Yeah.
So I think eventually that's got to be probably the goal. I have no idea. Haven't heard a word about that. But my hope is that they would do that and we could get this thing live on television.
Yeah.
I think that, that's my hope. I haven't heard a word about that stuff, but I think that is a real possibility with this thing.
All right. That would be cool. At the beginning of the show, Matt and I talked about a bunch of stuff, but one of the things that I talked about was the golfer Justin Thomas got into a Twitter spat with one of the fans about this 2-shot DQ that he had, and he went back and forth with these fans on Twitter. Are you pretty active with the fans that you have on social media, and have you ever got into a Twitter spat or an Instagram spat with any fans?
I try to keep that down. There's a few haters always, but I'll write 1 or 2 things, and then I've got some backup trolls myself, so I can unleash the gate to a couple of my buddies, and they'll go make that person delete the post. So, yeah.
Who was the NBA team owner who had the troll accounts? Remember, got in trouble?
No, Kevin Durant had a fake account.
Kevin Durant. I feel like there was other people too.
Yeah,
that's big league.
It's crazy.
I mean, I got some guys that just have, they always got my back on there, and they know how this is. I mean, there's guys that just think that they're, sitting behind their phone thinking that they're the bomb and talk crap, whatever.
Yeah,
I don't care. It doesn't bother me. Like, might bother me for 30 seconds, and I write something back, and I'm like, this guy's an idiot anyway. So
let me ask you that. The guys are talking about it, and I was thinking about this on the way here, just listening to some other podcasts about people who have been at the very top of their game, their sport, regardless of what it is. In your opinion, what makes a great bass fisherman? And I'm going to leave that open-ended, whether it be tournaments, whether it be finish. But if I just said, what makes a great bass fisherman?
In my opinion, there's all kinds of different great bass fishermen. There's guys that are really good at one lake. There's guys that are really good regionally. And then there's guys that are really good at traveling around the country and breaking down lakes. So you have different great bass fishermen. You can't say that guys that just dominate on one lake aren't great bass fishermen. They are great bass fishermen. And guys that dominate regionally, like Hanselman down in Texas, that guy is ridiculous down there, I mean, that's amazing. And then, the guys, Paul and Nick, Jordan Lee, Kevin Van Dam, they're amazing too. They're amazing in the groups that they're amazing at. And so I just think a great bass fisherman can change, obviously there's going to be plenty of times where you fail, but you can change throughout the day to figure the fish out that day, catch them that day, and make adjustments, throughout several days in a row. And to me, that it's not the guy just going out there fishing the same old spots over and over. And it's just the guy that can go, even if it's his home lake, go find new water. I know guys at the Delta. I have a close friend at the Delta. He's constantly on Google Earth. He's lived there for 32 years. and he's constantly on Google Earth still looking for new stuff at the Delta. And he's one of the best fishermen, if not the best fisherman on the Delta. And so that's just the kind of effort it takes, especially with how quickly people can pick up everything on the internet now. You got to stay ahead of everyone else.
All right, David in Wisconsin wants to know what model boat you're running and motor.
921 Pro XP, 250 Yamaha SHO, and Humminbirds and Talons. And I had that thing, I was on Gunnersville the other day. Pretty open, there's a little bit of current. I had it up to 75.2 or 75.3, 21-foot boat. So this boat I got this year is hauling the butt, man.
Wow. All right. Dude, you've been to 3 classics, and I know one of the events that the guys just don't look forward to is Media Day, because sometimes it's one of these events where you have people ask you questions that sometimes just aren't familiar with the game. Is this media event that's going to take place next week one that you're probably going to get asked the same question over and over and over and over? Do you dread those things? What are your thoughts on the whole media day kind of blowout?
Dude, it's work. Like, there's some little things I can complain about from time to time, mostly at the end of the year when I have to keep traveling and I want to be home and I'm, done with the tour and I want to be home with family. But that's little stuff. Even at our level, it's a perfect job. I can complain about very, very little. So media day to me it's work. It's part of the job. People ask some stupid questions, but that's part of the job. Like I'm sure they asked the guys, after Keith Mitchell won that PGA Tour event yesterday, he did his press conference. I'm sure he got asked a couple stupid questions, but
yeah,
it's work, man. I'm not going to sit here and complain about any of it. I'm super fortunate to be able to do this for a living. So,
all right, here's another business question, and I don't know if he'll answer this one or not, Matt.
I'll answer it.
Would you be willing, totally no name on the card? You could even have somebody else fill out the information to where we couldn't identify or nobody could identify.
Put a number on it and put it in a black box.
Yeah. All right.
What do you think?
Would you be willing to take a survey and indicate, number one, how many paying sponsors that you have? Number two, how many non-paying sponsors? In other words, you just get product. And then number three, the total amount dollar-wise in endorsements that you get per year.
Completely anonymous.
I think we should do that.
That's what we want to do. All right?
I think that's a great idea.
So that's one of the things that we're going to try and do here very shortly. But I think everybody would trust us. You just walk up, you fill out the card, you put it in the box. We have the box there. We have no idea who it is or what it is. But I really believe that information needs to be compiled to where we get a really good indicator of how well or the need to generate more revenue in this game for the guys that are doing it. And I know the no entry fees and all this other stuff that's taking place, but from an endorsement standpoint, I think it would be eye-opening for people to understand what the dollar amounts are from a sponsorship standpoint in this game.
100%. I think it'd be great. I think it would open a lot of people's eyes up to go, wow, I thought they made more money than that. Because we've always been like, people think we get asked for donations and stuff all the time. And I'm like, dude, are you like, I'm doing good, but there's plenty of guys that don't make, there's plenty of guys that profit like 50 grand a year profit at the end of the year, and after everything. And I would still rather fish for a living and make 50 grand a year than go get a job for 200 grand a year or 500 grand a year. I honestly would, because I'm fishing and I love it. But, it would open a lot of people's eyes, man, to know that these guys aren't, there's probably 20 guys that are making, if I had to guess, there's 20 guys making, like 175 grand or more.
In endorsements.
just total, like at the end of the year, you know, endorsements, winnings every year on average. Like there's probably 20 guys. It might be 150 grand, you know, that they actually profit 150 grand.
Interesting.
So,
well,
and then your bulk of guys are going to be 30 or 0 to 80, you know.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, we're going to try and get that done. I think we can. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we can. Now, I have been doing a lot of research because one of the things that I do is I like to make comparisons to this game to other individual sports. And the research that I have found is typically companies will reinvest about 12.6% of their gross revenue, not their gross earnings, but their gross revenue back into advertising and marketing. That's kind of been the standard. I'm really curious whether or not companies in the fishing industry are either above or below that number. That seems to be the general consensus of all the research that I've done, that 12.6% is the number.
I have no idea on that one, man. No idea.
Because that's a pretty, for a company like Pure Fishing, that's a pretty substantial number.
Well, they've got a lot of pros right now. They got a big pro staff right now. So
yeah.
I don't know, though. I can't speak.
We got like 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask it. What's it, just from your personal perspective, what's the difference? I mean, you've got like Econo-Lodge, you've got Pure Fit, you've got a bunch of endemic and some big non-endemics. What's the difference between working with a non-endemic and an endemic? Is there a difference when you go into meetings when you're working with them throughout the year? I mean, is there, or is it just the same?
Yeah, you just have to explain a lot more to the non-endemics. You know, they don't get it. They don't. I shouldn't say they don't get it. They're trying to understand it better. And so I have to do the explaining to them of how things work in our industry and everything. But you know, that's what we need, more non-endemic. And I think that what MLF is doing is our best chance of getting that. If they can keep doing this product and get it on live TV, that's what we need, because we're all pulling from the same pit right now for the most part, the fishing industry pit. And that's what is keeping. Look, I'm not trying. I honestly, if I stayed where I'm at, or maybe a little less or whatever, like I'm comfortable, I'm good. But I want to see guys that are coming in that are struggling, or guys that have been here for a few years that are struggling. I honestly want to see those guys doing better. I would rather see those guys start doing better than add anything to myself. So if we can get this whole, industry where we're, at least, the Bass Pro Tour, where new blood is wanting to come in, who knows, maybe a MasterCard, whatever, Shell, Chevron, who knows what it is, but really come in and get involved and help everybody out. The other thing is I want to see the paybacks. I think that the paybacks in the, no entries is great, but the paybacks have got to get to a point where if a guy, in golf, if you don't want to do any endorsements, you can still make a living golfing. And right now in fishing, that's really hard to do. Like, you have to have endorsements to make a living fishing. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, like, I have however many followers on Instagram, 96,000 followers. When I was 13 years old working at that pumpkin patch, I wasn't worried about one follower on Instagram. I was doing it because I love fishing. And that's what I'm still trying to focus on right now. And that's what Jordan has done such a great job at. I feel like, fishing with him the other day, is he just still loves fishing, and the sponsors are coming to him. But if you don't want to promote stuff, you should still be able to make a living doing it. And if you want to promote, if you want to be a Ricky Fowler or Justin Thomas, whatever, and you want to go the extra bit and make more money, fly right at it, but we got to have the platform for that to happen.
I just have one more sponsor question, and I'll turn it over to Mark to wrap it up. But in your your Econo-Lodge tips, where you so eloquently state that you can save on the room so you can splurge on the fun.
Did you like the commercial or not?
Well, my question is, did you come up with those hot tips yourself, or are those tips that someone else kind of put into your head?
We wanted some really basic tips for the commercial. So I think those are good basic tips.
All right.
Yeah.
What's wrong with them?
Yeah,
Nothing. I
agree.
just was asking the question.
I thought that was a great commercial.
It was.
So did I.
I know you love my hat, Matt.
Yeah.
How long?
Hat.
Yeah.
How long did it take to shoot that?
Full day. Hold on one second.
He's getting the hat.
Yeah, he is.
Look, right there, baby.
Yeah. At least he's got the real hat. The first I think year you had that, it was a photoshopped logo over another hat.
No, this is the real hat. This is the one I wore in that deal.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
This is my golfing hat now.
Very nice.
When I get on the golf course, everybody's trying to get this hat from me for some reason. I don't know why. But, dude, I think it's amazing that Econo Lodge is...
Heck yeah.
They're the perfect company, perfect brand to be involved in this industry. You know, fishermen, let's face it, fishermen are trying to save money. They all are. And I've stayed in a bunch of Econo Lodges over the years because you can't make it to our level if you're not some type of frugal or cheap. Like, you'll go broke trying to get here.
The only reason I remember the slogan is because of you, so that's saying something.
Yeah.
There you go. Hey, man, I had a voice coach for that commercial.
It took a full day.
A voice coach?
A guy that was like, I had to like repeat him. It was crazy. Dude, I never knew that was even like a thing. But yeah, he was like trying to tell me how to say it and everything.
Inflection or voice quality? How does this work? So there's just like a guy in a suit standing there and they're like, hey, this is the voice coach that we hired for the shoot?
Like he's a professional voice coach. Yeah.
What did he say about your voice? Like, what did you have to change?
Just the, like, I guess the pitch of it in leading into sentences and coming out of them and stuff.
Your inflection?
I don't even know what that means.
That's inflection. So they wanted to make sure, like, when you're saying the slogan and everything, they need it to be said at like a certain cadence with like a certain.
Yeah. That's what, dude. When I did that commercial, I'm like, wow, this is not what people in our industry normally do. Like, this is the real deal. This is what we need more of in our industry, is working with companies like this.
Yeah, I remember shooting that 20 feet deep. He's like sitting on his kitchen counter. His wife's making coffee behind him. He's like, is that good? I'm like, yeah, it's good. Just speak up.
Yeah.
So it was a 30-second spot, and it took a full day to shoot.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of prep and stuff that goes into that.
Huh.
Makeup?
What do you think? They just like make commercials, Mark? Like, you think you think Panera Bread just shoots a commercial in like 2 hours on a Monday morning?
Dude, he doesn't know, Matthew. When I was like 7 years old, I was in a Mattel commercial.
He was a child actor. He was actually on the cover of Mattel, playing with train sets?
No, Hot Wheels.
Hot Wheels, playing with Hot Wheels. That was it. He's a child actor. We actually have some collectors who are viewers of the show who will probably 3-4 times a year send me pictures of boxes going, is this a child Jeffries on the cover?
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
Pretty
funny. All right, man. Looking forward to seeing you at the Classic. And I'll tell you what, man, you got to be excited, too, about the next 2 stops that you guys have.
Yeah, the Raleigh one is interesting. You know, we're only going to get 1 day of practice on one lake and 1 day on the other. And so that's interesting, you know, but I'm just looking forward to getting I'm really excited about Chickamauga. I'm really excited about Smith Lake, Table Rock.
Yeah.
That stuff is exciting. This next one is going to be interesting. Like, I'm going to have to, you know, I'm just going to have to go out there and do well, fish well, obviously, but I'm looking forward to those 4th and 5th stops for sure.
All right, man. A very, very busy week this week and next week, but wish you the best of luck, man. Hopefully your 4th Classic, you will have an enormous amount of success. All
right, man. Thank you. Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
When you go to Knoxville, man, remember to save on the room so you can splurge on the fun.
Very nice. All right, man. Take care. Take care, man.
Right. See ya.
Thanks.
See ya. All right, there you have it. Justin Lucas. It's good stuff, man.
Yeah, he gets it.
Yeah.
Always has got it.
Yeah. I find it quite interesting. He has no problem doing the survey. I'm really going to try and pull that off here very, very quickly. So we'll see. All right, man. What else?
That's it. I mean, we got a big week coming up. And like I said, at the end of this week, these guys start practice. for the 49th Bassmaster Classic, and it's going to be over before you know it, and it's hard to believe we're living all this stuff that for the last 6, 8, 10 months we've been like, oh, this is going to be crazy, and now it's here, and then you go and do it, and you go to the first MLF event.
Yeah.
You see what the Elite Series is like without these top guys. Now we're going to see what the Classic is like, the last one that the majority of these anglers will potentially ever fish in.
You're right. Hey, I want to let everybody know tomorrow, Ott Defo, probably the favorite. Would you say that?
Yeah, I'm going to have to ask him about the TV show that I got some emails that were like, dude, how have you not been watching this?
That's really, really, really good.
He's got a little bit of actor in him.
Yeah, it's really good. And then Mike Iaconelli on Wednesday. Also want to mention on March 20th, the week after the Bassmaster Classic, we're going to have our first one-on-one live.
Ooh.
Gerald Swindle versus Jordan Lee on Lake Guntersville. Going to be a good one, and we have more stuff coming out on that. So a lot to look forward to in the month of March. We will be back tomorrow, same time, right here with Ott Defo. Anything else, Matthew?
No.
You're good. Stay warm, dude. It's freezing. Be careful.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Those roads are a little icy. All right, everybody, be safe. We're out of here.